Why Kawasaki's KX450 was the privateer weapon for so long. Watch any Supercross LCQ and count the green bikes. There's always a wall of them. Same thing in the back half of the main event. Row after row of Kawasaki lime green. People see that and figure the KX450 must be the fastest 450 you can buy. It isn't. Pro-level riders actually called the 2024 model the slowest of the class. So why does so much of the privateer pack ride green? The answer comes down to money, a bike that keeps running when everything else is falling apart, and a plan Kawasaki has been running for 50 years. Let me back up and explain the LCQ, because that's where this whole story lives. A Supercross night runs in rounds. You've got practice, then heat races, finish near the front of your heat, and you go straight to the main event. Miss it, and you get one last shot. That shot is the LCQ, last chance qualifier. One race, and only the top few riders move on. Everybody else loads up and drives home with nothing. The LCQ is where the privateers fight. These are the guys with no factory truck, no team of mechanics, no salary. They pay for the bike, the fuel, the tires, the motel, all of it out of their own pocket. And a single race weekend can run past $3,000 just in travel. So for these guys, making the main event is survival. Miss it, and the weekend costs them money for nothing. Now you understand the stakes. A privateer isn't trying to win, he's trying to not go broke. And that changes everything about which bike he picks. Here's how riders actually get paid at the back. Every manufacturer runs what's called a contingency program. It's money the brand pays you based on where you finish, as long as you're on their bike. Win money, podium money, top 10 money, all the way down the sheet. But the brands don't all pay the same way. Most of them load their cash at the top. Big bonus for a win, less for second, less for third, and it dries up fast after that. That's great if you're a factory star. It's useless if you're the guy scrapping for 18th. You can see the split when you line the brands up. Yamaha pays the most to the top 3 finishers. Honda is the only brand that pays different amounts for the 250 class and the 450 class. Some of the smaller programs barely reward the back of the pack at all. If you're a title contender, you shop those top-heavy sheets. If you're a privateer who knows he's finishing mid-pack, those big top 3 numbers might as well not exist. You're never going to touch them. Kawasaki does it different. Kawasaki pays the back of the pack. They pay you just for making the night show, which means being one of the top 40 riders on the property that night, and they pay solid money for finishing 15th through 22nd in the main. Those are the exact spots where privateers live. So a rider who's honest about his own speed pulls out the payout sheets and does the math, and the math keeps landing on green. Let me put real numbers on it. Say you claw through the LCQ, grab the last transfer spot, and finish 19th in the main. On some brands, that pays you almost nothing. You drove across the country to break even at best. On a Kawasaki, that same 19th pays you finish money, plus a bonus of a few $100 just for making the night program. Do that weekend after weekend, round after round, and it adds up to a real slice of your season. It's the difference between racing next weekend and parking the van in the driveway. There's an old line in the pits that sums it up. If you're a 12 to 18 kind of rider, green is the best color you can be. You can watch this with real riders. Take Tyler Bowers. They call him the Bear. He's a journeyman, the kind of guy who'll race anything with a big enough purse, and for years he lined up on a Kawasaki in Supercross. He didn't ride green because it was the fastest thing under him. He rode it because for a rider who finishes 12th to 18th, Kawasaki paid him the most for those finishes. No shame in that at all. It's a smart racer reading the money and picking the tool that pays his bills. There's a catch to all of this, and it's the reason the whole pit turns green instead of just part of it. To collect that Kawasaki money, your bike has to actually look like a Kawasaki. The front fender has to be Kawasaki lime green, and the Kawasaki name has to be visible on the machine. No green, no check. So a privateer chasing that payout doesn't just ride any green bike. He runs the green fender, keeps the logos on, and makes sure he's registered before the season starts. Multiply that by dozens of riders all chasing the same money, and you get a start gate that looks like a solid wall of lime green. And the pot is big. For 2026, Kawasaki put more than $14 million up for grabs across its rewards program, and the brand calls it the biggest program of any manufacturer in the sport. Now that's not all flowing to Supercross privateers. It's spread across amateur racing, off-road, all of it. But the message to a broke racer is loud and simple. Ride green, and there's more money on the table for you than anywhere else. The green habit starts young, too. Kawasaki runs an amateur program that pulls kids in on 65 cubic centimeters two-strokes and moves them up the ranks, all the way to the 450. A rider who came up green has been on that brand since he was a little kid. He knows how the bikes feel, he knows the people, and he already runs the color. When he turns pro with no factory deal, staying on green is the natural move. He's not learning a new bike. He's riding the one he grew up on, and now it pays him to keep doing it. So that's the money side. But money alone doesn't explain it, because a bike that pays well is worthless if it breaks or beats you up. This is where the KX450 earns its spot for real. Start with the button. Since 2019, the KX450 has had electric start. You go down in a corner, you thumb the button, and you're back in the race. No frantic kicking at a flooded four-stroke while the whole pack rides away from you. For a factory rider, that's a small luxury. For a privateer who might be riding hurt or just cooked at the end of a long night, it can be the difference between finishing the race and watching it. Then there's the power, and this is the part that matters most. The KX450 makes strong power, but it makes it in a smooth, easy way. The torque curve is flat. That means the power builds gradually instead of hitting all at once. So you can get on the gas earlier out of a corner, and the front end won't try to loop out on you. Here's why that's such a big deal for a privateer. Late in a 20-minute main, your forearms are pumped up so bad you can barely hang on. Your timing falls apart. On a peaky, violent bike, that's the moment you make a mistake and hit the ground. On a smooth bike like the KX450, you can keep hitting your marks even when your body's got nothing left. Most riders find the KX450 has all the power they'll ever use. And for a guy just trying to survive to the checkers, easy beats scary every single time. The suspension plays into it as well. In 2019, Kawasaki went back to Showa coil spring forks built off their factory A-kit parts. That mattered to riders because a coil spring gives you the same feel every lap. The air forks that some bikes ran were lighter, but the pressure could drift as they heated up, and the feel would change on you halfway through a moto. A privateer doesn't have a suspension tech riding along to babysit that. He wants forks that do the same thing on lap 1 and lap 15. Coil springs give him that. The clutch helps too. The KX450 runs a hydraulic clutch, so the lever feel stays the same all race long. A cable clutch fades and gets heavy as it heats up. The hydraulic setup keeps a consistent pull, so on your last few laps when your arms are screaming, the clutch still does exactly what you tell it. Small thing on paper, huge thing at minute 18. Coming into a rutted corner you have to clutch through. Reliability ties it all together. A privateer can't afford to grenade an engine in practice and miss the payday. He often wrenches his own bike in a garage, late at night, between rounds, with no support truck to bail him out, so the bike has to just run. The KX450's engine uses a finger-follower valve train borrowed from Kawasaki's Superbike program, which helps it rev hard and take a beating. The bike has a reputation for shrugging off abuse and firing right back up the next weekend. When your income depends on making the gate, a bike that starts every time is worth more than a few extra horsepower you can't hold on to anyway. Now, the bloodline, there's a reason the KX450 is built the way it is, and it goes back to the factory race bikes. This is the same platform Ryan Villopoto rode to 4 straight Supercross championships, 2011 through 2014. It's the bike James Stewart took to a perfect outdoor season in 2008, winning every single moto of the year, 24 for 24. Eli Tomac won a Supercross title on a Kawasaki in 2020. Jason Anderson lines up on the factory KX450 today. Kawasaki has won Supercross titles in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. 4 different decades of winning on green. Here's why that history matters to a broke privateer. The KX450 you buy at the dealer is close to what the factory guys race. Same frame, same basic engine, same suspension family. So all the knowledge built up around that bike, the setup tricks and clicker settings and fixes, floats around the paddock and gets shared. One rider dials in a good fork height for a slick track, and word travels fast when half the pits are on the same machine. Parts are everywhere too. Blow a shock or bend a subframe, and somebody nearby probably has a spare. On a rare bike, you're on your own island. On green, you're surrounded by people running the exact same thing you are. Kawasaki also keeps the bike current, which stops the whole thing from going stale. In 2024, they gave the KX450 a new frame, an updated engine, and revised Showa suspension. When pro-level riders griped that the 2024 felt a little slow, Kawasaki reworked the air filter and airbox for 2025 so it could breathe and pick up quicker. So a privateer buying green isn't buying something a decade behind the times. He's buying something close to the current works bike, backed by a company that keeps sharpening it. The payoff for scrapping at the back has actually gotten bigger too. In the Super Motocross playoff finals, the purse pays all the way down to 30th place, and that includes the riders who fought in through the LCQ. So a last chance run at the right race isn't just gas money anymore. It can be a serious check for a guy who'd never sniff a podium. The back of the pack finally has real money in it, and Kawasaki riders are stacked at the back of the pack. Put it all together and you see the loop. The money pulls privateers onto green in the first place. The bike is easy enough to wrench and easy enough to ride that they stick around. More green bikes in the pits means more shared setup and more spare parts, which makes life easier for the next privateer, which pulls even more of them onto green. It feeds itself, round after round, season after season. None of this means green is the best bike on the track. It probably isn't the fastest. A factory rider chasing a title might want something with more top-end hit, and that's a different conversation with a different budget behind it. But that's not who fills an LCQ. The LCQ is full of guys doing math, guys who know they're not winning tonight and who need to turn a 19th place ride into fuel for the next round. For them, a KX450 with Team Green money behind it is the smartest bet on the board. So next time you watch a Supercross, don't just stare at the front, watch the LCQ, watch the rider who grabs the final transfer spot and drags his bike to 20th in the main. He didn't win a thing. Nobody's carrying him off on their shoulders. But on that green bike, he drove home with a check 3 other brands would never have written him. Next weekend, he'll be right back on the gate, still green.